switching the letters.
Yeah.
Isn't that right?
I didn't hear it, but unless I said it wrong. It's just carlin.altman@gmail.com.
Let me see.
In case I sent it to
I just sent it to carlin.altman@gmail.com. So second time that it doesn't happen. It has to be some feature here that is suitable. So, make me what? I will wait till. Okay. Yeah, it may come. Still may.
Oh my God, you're in the spam.
Yeah. See, there is a filter. Hi.
John, what is the email that was in your PayPal? I always send them.
Oh, for PayPal? Oh, it's in the email that you received.
Okay.
Oh, you want the
Well, maybe if you just tell me the first couple letters, it'll probably pop up. JP.
Yes, JP Girard.
It probably will pop up.
All right. Hang on, mother. Can you hear me one? Okay. What about the echo now? No echo? Hi, Scott. Hi, Slim. What about the echo now? Hi, Roy. It's exactly one space for you. Any echo now?
Yeah, that's more like it.
I don't hear any echo, but I wonder. It's okay. All right. No echo. I think it's gone. Okay, great. So use the chat room to ask your questions, and we will start right now. So let's begin with a short meditation. And the best definition I have found for meditation is to shift the attention from mind to consciousness. So we need to have understanding of what is mind and what is consciousness, and then we can meditate, right? Usually it doesn't happen that way, right? You start with meditation and 30 years later you understand what is the mind and what is consciousness. And then you say, oh my God, so I haven't been meditating all these years. So the difference between mind and consciousness is mind is the object, and there are 5 mental objects that conform the mind. They are emotions, thoughts, drives, beliefs, and sensations. And there is no more. So these 5 mental objects are kind of dancing in front of something that is witnessing the dance. There's a witnessing or a perceiving of the dance that is constant. While the mental objects are coming and going, in fact, the witnessing is constant, or the perceiving is constant. And that perceiving, we call it consciousness. So it's more a verb than a noun, right? So when in order to meditate and to move the attention from mind to consciousness, we just need to remove it from the mind. If we remove it from the mind, then it has gone back to consciousness, because attention is the same, is consciousness. Attention is what is seen in the movie. And how we remove it? How we remove the attention from the mental objects, because it tends to be kind of obsessed with the mental objects, right? So many years fixated, the attention fixated in the mental objects makes it difficult to withdraw it from them. And here, all these techniques that are around meditation, seem to help somewhat. Some work better, some work less effectively. But eventually, the easiest way is to just do it. To just remove the attention, right? See, let's say you put the attention on something, right, in a movie, and at that moment you are in the movies and you're watching the movie, but you can withdraw the attention and you can bring it into what's going on in the audience, right? So you just remove the attention from one place to another. So it's similar, but in this case, the attention has to withdraw from the mental objects, from all of them, not passing it from one to another, but to withdraw the attention from all the mental objects. So many techniques, many meditation techniques, they have a step in between. You basically focus the attention on one thing first. Like, for example, you focus the attention on the breath, right? And by focusing the attention on the breath, at least you are forgetting most of the mental objects and you're focusing into one. But that's not meditation, that's concentration, right? So we need to still remove the attention from the breath and bringing it into itself. Remove the awareness or consciousness or this perceiving and remove it, make it rest on itself. So another system is what Advaita proposes, which is you simply withdraw the attention following a pointer, like the pointer from Ramana Maharshi, abide as the self, or the pointer from Adyashanti, rest as awareness. That's a good one. There is another one which is rest as open awareness, which is even better. So, and that is instantaneous. You don't have to do a technique. You just do it. And when the attention begins to rest in itself, or awareness begins to rest in itself, there is usually a sense of peace and a sense of bliss and calmness. Therefore, we tend to get hooked because we get a good feedback at a feeling level, and then we want to do it more. So today we will start with something intermediate. We will focus in a few things first, and then I will suggest you to remove the attention completely from all mental objects. Let's do it. If those in the back don't hear me enough, please let me know so I raise my voice. Okay. This is Roy's advice.
And before we start,
Okay.
Is anybody warm? I can turn on this fan. Oh, okay, right. Lock him out.
So I would like to double check with those online that you're getting a good reception. If you can tell me in the... Okay. So let's close our eyes and begin by taking 3 deep breaths. And during the exhalation, allow your whole body to relax from head to toe. So let us inhale. And exhale, relaxing. Allow your whole body to relax during the exhalation. Relaxation helps to meditate. Let us inhale again. And exhale, relaxing. And once more, inhale deeply. And exhale, relaxing. Allow your whole body to relax. So feel your feet for a moment and imagine your feet are relaxing deeper and deeper. Or consciously relax your feet. Bring now your attention to your ankles. And same thing, allow your ankles to relax. Feel your calves now. And allow your calves to relax. Feel now your thighs. And same thing. Let go and allow your thighs to relax. So that now your whole legs are deeply relaxed. Relax now your buttocks and abdomen. And relax your stomach and lower back, both. Relax now your chest and also your upper back. Take a moment to relax your shoulders and arms. And relax your neck, front, back, and both sides. Relax now your face. Start with the jaw and mouth, nose and cheeks, eyes and eyelids, forehead and eyebrows, so that now your whole face is completely relaxed. Now relax your scalp and ears. And gently scan your body and make sure your whole body is relaxed from head to toe. Now gently listen to the sounds in the room. Be aware of the sounds in the room, allowing all sounds to be as they are. Simply become aware of them. Now withdraw the awareness from the sounds and simply rest as awareness. You forget the sounds, forget the noises around, and simply rest as awareness. So if you gently open your eyes, you may notice that despite that there will be more mental objects, visual sensations in this case, still a good part of awareness can still rest in itself. This is what makes possible to practice this during the day, because we can go on through our normal duties and activities and still we can enjoy ourself with capital S, not our little self, right? As usually we say, enjoy yourself, and the little self, the ego, the having pride, being proud of oneself, but actually the true self with capital S. By resting as awareness, or as open awareness, even better, we have moved into our divine self, our true self, our divine nature. And we're moving in the right direction, and we are forgetting the mind objects, the mind, and especially the real self, which is kind of the core of the mind. The little self has also been called the ego, and today our focus will be to a great degree on the little self, right? And how to erase that. Notice.
You can use a whiteboard behind you.
Right. So I have an outline here somewhere. Here it is. So we hear a lot about what is called the egoless state, right? Where there is no ego, or no I, no me. But how we can touch that, how we can experience in a simple way how it feels, the egoless state. Because either it feels good, or we will not really have much motivation to go there, right? Because to begin with, the ego is not interested in eliminating itself, right? On the contrary, it wants to survive. It's like everything in nature, wants to persist. So either it feels good, or it's very likely that we will not pursue it. And the only way that we can know if it feels good or not is by experience. We can hear the opinion of people that are going there and will tell you, well, yes, it feels very blissful, right? When you have no self, no ego, it feels very empty, and very spacious, and very blissful. And you see this all over the scriptures, over many teachers have talked about this, and obviously the intention is to inspire us to go there and experience that by ourselves, not just keeping this as a belief that this is good, but we never really touch that state. So I'm going to share with you a very simple way to begin to experience the egoless state, the emptiness within, which is another word for the egoless state. No self, another word. No little self, not self with capital, because the self with capital is awareness. Awareness of this perceiving that is happening right here never goes away, right? It's always here. So actually, you cannot remove the self with capital S. It's impossible. So you cannot disappear. When the little self disappears, you don't disappear. The little self is a construction. It's a mental construct. It's not real. Therefore, you're not losing yourself because you're losing something that is false. That is it's a deception. The mind is deceiving us in that it tells us that we are the little self, but it's not true. So how we can experience the emptiness or the spaciousness or the egoless state? Well, a simple way is by using a pointer. And a good pointer is there is no one here and never was. So how do you do this? Well, first of all, in order for the pointer to really work, you need to have energy. If you don't have energy, if you are depleted energetically, you will likely not be able to do it. And why is this? Because the brain requires more energy to quiet down than to speed up. The brain requires more energy to inhibit thought than to have thoughts. So if we are depleted energetically, then what happens is that we have a lot of thoughts. In order to quiet the mind, we need to have the brain energized. So the breath is an excellent way to energize the brain, and a very efficient and fast way to do it. So when you take a few deep breaths and with a type of breathing that is energizing, you are energizing the brain in a matter of seconds. And then after that, you tell yourself the pointer, there is no one here and never was, and you kind of follow the pointer until you have a sense of openness and spaciousness. And that is the beginning of the egoless state. And it feels good, right? So we begin to touch our divine nature with an exercise that takes seconds. Who has already done this here? You have done it. Anyone else? You have done it, right? Yes. So many of you have already done this. And as I said, it's extremely important because we need to fall in love with the egoless state if we want to progress, because the evolution, in a way, is always towards less and less ego. It's an ego deconstruction, right? So I'm going to share with you, first of all, a breathing exercise that really works. it works to what? For what? To energize the brain in a few seconds. And in Hatha Yoga, you will find a similar exercise that is called the breath of fire. And if you look online for breath of fire, you will find many teachers that are sharing how to do the breath of fire. And it's a very fast breathing type of breathing, powerful and energizing, right? So this is similar. I'm not going to go into the breath of fire. You can do it, and you will find many teachers that will teach you how to do that particular breathing. But this is similar. The breath of fire works in the belly, right, down below. This form of breathing works more here in the upper part of the chest, and it's simply a form of double breathing, where the inhalation is first a short inhalation and then a long one, and then the exhalation is a short exhalation and then a long one. And the inhalation is done through the nose, and the exhalation is done through the mouth. So it sounds like this, and it's very, very simple to do. And it sounds like this. The calming effect on the brain is instantaneous. Yeah, and the idea is to do about 6 of this double breath, short double breath, and then the last one you take a deep breath and you exhale. So that would be 6, 7 total, right? So it will be approximately this. So that takes about 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Once you finished, your brain will be energized. So the next step is you tell yourself there is no one here and never was, right? So for those who have awakened and already have had the realization that there is no one here, it's a reminder. The words are a reminder of they are awakened, right? So you follow the pointer, and what you begin to feel is a sense of emptiness, yeah, no center. Because we normally feel like we have a center, and that center is a fictitious center. It's a mass of thoughts and feelings, and it's the ego, it's the little self. What type of thoughts? They are called identifications. I am this, I am that. I am Jan, I am Chilean or now American, I am male, I am this and that and that. It's countless, right? If you begin to write down your identifications, you can write down 100. Now, these thoughts are not just thoughts, are not just beliefs. They are strong beliefs, first of all. Unless you have awakened and you saw through them, they're strong beliefs, and they have a lot of feeling, energy around them. So they are a mass of thoughts and feelings. This mass, this mental mass, Carl Jung called it a complex of thoughts and feelings. This mental mass is what creates this sensation, this fictitious center that we kind of carry inside. So the exercise that I'm sharing with you, what it does is that momentarily, at least for a few seconds, removes that feeling, removes the feeling of I, the sensation of this center, at least to some degree, so that you can breathe, so that the ego is not strangling you, right? The me, the little self. And you would say, well, I'm going to be there for a few seconds, right? But what do I do later? I would like to stabilize this. Well, what happens is that if you keep doing this during the day, eventually what will happen is that you will begin to feel the spaciousness in a continuous way during the day. So in the beginning it will be seconds, flashes, right? After you do the exercise. And then you will begin to stabilize. And suddenly you will see after, let's say, you started doing this when you woke up, right? And then you did it quite a few times during the first 2 hours of the morning. And then after 2 hours, 3 hours, you begin to feel that sense of spaciousness is constantly there. And you function much better. You are happier for no reason. You can relate to others in a much easier way because your ego is not on the way. You feel somewhat blissful or peace. You feel connected with people. You don't judge as much. You are happier. So in the email that I sent, I said, the title was Empty of Self is Happiness. And it's true. But it's the happiness, it's not the happiness that you get, that we get, all of us get through the senses, right? We get happiness, some happiness through the senses. It's a happiness with capital H that is not dependent on experiencing pleasurable sensations. It's not dependent also on experiencing positive thoughts. It's not dependent also on experiencing positive feedback from others, being loved by others, being liked by others. It's unconditional, right? Many times you begin to feel this during the day. You're feeling spacious, the spaciousness, you're feeling empty. And sometimes you go through something that, for the most part, could be uncomfortable and no reason to be happy, but you're not touched. So the egoless state is a state of natural happiness. And the ego is actually between us and the happiness that we're looking for. So with this simple technique, we can erase it for a moment, then we erase it again, and we erase it again. And after some time, without having to do a long meditation, because some people can do this with meditation in the morning, right? But without having to do a long meditation, that many times we don't have the time, or the patience, or the skills. After a couple of hours, you feel, that it's getting stabilized. And your day goes smooth, and your relationships are okay, and you're happy. So this state has been called emptiness. Emptiness of what? Emptiness of self. Empty of self. It's not empty of you with capital Y, because you as awareness, you're still there. But it's empty of this mass of thoughts and feelings that is called the ego. So let's do it together, okay? Just close your eyes for a moment, and let us take the 6 short double breath first, and then a long one at the end, all right? And now tell yourself the words, there is no one here, and never was. You can say it to yourself a few times. Okay, we like to hear feedback. Who of you, anyone that felt a little bit of this emptiness that I'm talking about? Roy, okay. You felt it, right? You know, you too, Kathy. Yes. So practically everybody, right? So, as you see, it's not difficult. Now, it requires a certain commitment, and I would say that a good starting point is first thing in the morning. You wake up, and you're going to have a lot of thoughts. Many people wake up feeling a little bit groggy, with lack of energy in the brain. So this is an excellent way to start the day, because you energize the brain fast, immediately. And then you begin to move in the right direction so that your day goes well, in a smooth way, and you feel happy during the day. So if we do it the first thing in the morning, it's like we're stating, okay, I'm committed to my true self, not to my false self, not to this little self. Now I want to, is a space for, here. I want to mention that some people don't need the breathing. And the reason is that their brain is very well energized. So they don't need the breathing. If that is the case, you just do the affirmation. Some people may need not 6 breaths and then a long one. 3 will be enough. 1 will be enough. So it's very personal. And if you begin to feel that your blood pressure goes up, you better cut down with the breathing, right? So, or if you begin to feel too overly energized, right? You cut down. Eventually, if you have plenty of energy in the brain, you actually don't need the breathing. The breathing is very effective to energize the brain, right? So we don't want to overdo it. So this leads to enjoying your true self, enjoying yourself with capital S. This feeling of emptiness that happens so naturally and so easy, it's so easy to experience, right, is the beginning of what the Buddhists have called the emptiness, or the experience of emptiness, or the void, where you, in a deep meditation, go into a state where the whole movie of life is gone and you go into the void, and it's called nirvana, right? And then you have a complete experience of the emptiness. Now, that requires to be quite skillful in meditation to do that. And if you can do it, perfect. But you can actually live a life that is very happy and very fulfilling and very free of worries without going to nirvana. Yeah, because if we set the goal too high, we will never reach it. It's not. You can chase nirvana, and then once you have nirvana, you want to stay in nirvana all the time, which is then you're out of this world, right? You get disconnected, totally disconnected.
Jim,
Yes.
what is your definition of nirvana?
It's the experience of the emptiness or the void where there are no mental objects whatsoever, right? So there is a complete interiorization of attention, and then there is a sensation of emptiness that is total and complete. Make sense to you?
So, then what is your definition of samadhi?
Of what?
Samadhi.
Yeah, that is a form of samadhi, right? But there are many different forms of samadhi. So that is one samadhi. But samadhi comes from the Indian traditions, right? While the concept of nirvana comes from the Buddhists. But actually, you could say that the experience of the void is a form of samadhi. But there are other types of samadhis, including beauty samadhi, love samadhi, and on and on. They all have in common that the self is gone, right? So we could say that there is a continuum between being totally immersed and believing in the self, in the little self, and having no self. There is a continuum, and samadhi is in the extreme, right? So in this continuum, it's a good idea to do not see this in black and white terms, because then you become you will go your whole life chasing samadhi. And so the idea is you don't need to experience samadhi to be happy, to also attain liberation. In fact, we see Ramana Maharshi or Nisargadatta Maharaj or both that said they were asked if they were constantly in samadhi, and they said, no, we are not, right? Because there is a continuum. And the experience of samadhi, which is a total no self, is valuable because it gives you, it gives you an experience of the total no little self, which is, it also reveals to you your true self, if you really can catch it, because you can have a samadhi, you can have the experience of no little self, but you may not wake up. Many people have had many samadhis and they never realize that in samadhi the little self is gone. So they don't wake up. They just have a spiritual experience.
So there's really no real difference between nirvana and samadhi.
I would say that no, but nirvana is a particular form of samadhi, right?
That's what they call nirvikalpa samadhi.
Yeah, nirvikalpa samadhi, because of the root nir, right? Same as the root nirvana, means no, right? It might be a good definition, but nirvikalpa samadhi, for what I have seen in the yoga texts, has been defined in different ways. Like, for example, in the teachings of Yogananda, he defined nirvikalpa samadhi in opposition to savikalpa samadhi as the samadhi that you experience when you are in constant samadhi and you are functioning in the world in constant samadhi, right? So that was Yogananda's definition, which probably comes from some yoga texts. And savikalpa samadhi is when you, in meditation, you touch samadhi, and then after you touch samadhi, you come back to normal life. But you're not living in samadhi. So, but even great non-dual teachers and sages, they have said that they are not in nirvikalpa samadhi. They are not constantly in samadhi,
Yeah, you can't
right?
function. It's like externally in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, it's almost to the outside world like you're comatose, basically.
Sorry?
It's almost like you appear to the world to be comatose.
You're gone.
Comatose.
In Nirvikalpa Samadhi. You
Right.
aren't, but to anybody viewing you from the outside, that's what it would look like.
Right. Yes. Well, see, in savikalpa samadhi, you cannot function. According to Yogananda's tradition, you cannot function. You are basically laying down and you're gone, right? But
That happens in Nirvikalpa Samadhi.
in savikalpa samadhi. But according to Yogananda, and you will find different traditions, okay? But according to him, in nirvikalpa samadhi, you can function in the world and still you're in samadhi. These are definitions, right? That's why these are definitions, and if you look into the different texts, you will find different definitions. So, in the end, what I recommend is don't chase samadhi, right? Forget about samadhi. Just aim at staying as empty as possible during the day, right? That's it. Because if you can stay somewhat empty, your life will be good. You will have a good life, right? While if we are full of thoughts and preoccupations and worries, and life is a misery. So instead of focusing on having a spiritual experience, let's focus in living our life as empty as possible, empty of self. Now, when you begin to do this, very soon you find that there are things that we have in our head that make it difficult, that is not so easy. For example, if you are worrying about something, a worrying is an obsessive thinking around a particular issue, right? So if your mind is worrying, what happens is that attention will tend to focus into that material. So instead of being empty, you will be focusing into this worry. So worrying is really problematic. And worrying, of course, is linked to fear. So we want to get rid of fear. And we want to get rid of all type of issues: anger, fear, shame, guilt, all these negative emotions that are coming from our fantasies, our thoughts. We want to get rid of all that neurotic material in the mind, sick material in the mind, so that we can stay empty. Because this material doesn't allow us to stay empty. Therefore, we need a technology that is different. This technology works at keeping you as empty as possible, but if you have issues that you need to solve, evidently that you need to address them. If the issue is small, you may be able to bypass it, and still you will feel pretty empty, right? But if it's not small, if it's big, the mental issue that you're having, it will make it very difficult. Picture the following. If you have a stone inside your shoe, you can keep walking and ignore it. And if you are able to ignore it, you will keep walking and there will be no problem. But if it's too big, you better remove the shoe and take the stone out, right? Remove the stone. So we need a technology that will remove issues, that will clean the mind from its negative stuff, so that we will not be, our attention, our awareness, where we are, will not be continuously being pulled and contracted around these elements. So it would be very easy if the spiritual life was just about staying as empty as possible, right? But it's not just that. Unfortunately, it does not work, because then you are bypassing your problems, and bypassing or avoiding or using spirituality or the emptiness to avoid your issues does not work. Yeah? So you need to do both. You need to keep going in the direction of emptying yourself and be as happy as you can, because emptiness equals happiness. And at the same time, you need a technology that will help you to remove the issues that are in the mind. And we all have them. Yeah? Some have more, some have less. We all have them. So this, the technology that we need is called healing, right? Healing the mind-body organism from its issues. So you wake up, for example, and you realize, oh, I'm not the little self. I'm not this mass of thoughts and feelings. Yeah? I'm awareness. It's the only thing that is here in this mind-body organism. You wake up, and then the next day, you don't feel good, right? And then you say, what's happening? I'm supposed to feel good. No, you're not. It depends. If you have removed, before awakening, a lot of the neuroses that we have, then the next day you may feel pretty good. And in fact, some people, after a strong awakening, they feel very good for many days or for months. But not everyone. And it doesn't mean that they didn't wake up. It means that there are issues that need to be removed. And there could be a lot of issues, depending on, and we discussed this in the previous session, right? How much trauma we got, how much traumatized we were during our childhood. That will definitely impact how much material, distorted and negative material you will have in your mind turning and creating contraction. So we could say that the spiritual life is this chariot that is being pulled by two horses. One is the practice of emptiness, no self, and the other one is, or emptying yourself, and the other one is healing, right? And for that, we have discussed many times here the surrendering technique, and next time I'm going to talk more about the surrendering protocol, which is different. So I think I covered all of the elements. So how we stabilize the feeling of bliss or peace? We need to remove the issues that are present in the mind. And then it becomes stable. Then the emptiness becomes stable. More and more and more and more stable. And it takes time. It takes time, it takes patience. I have a friend of mine that he's a psychic, and he asked, to his internal guides, how many times he had used the surrendering technique during the last year since his awakening. And it was thousands and thousands of times. I don't remember the number. Yeah. just to give you an idea how he was seriously traumatized during his childhood, right? So he had a lot of stuff that he needed to remove, and he was very committed at doing this. So he was doing a lot of surrendering technique all day long. Having a negative emotion, surrendering it. Having another one, surrendering it. Until pretty fast he cleaned the slate. In my case, I keep working on issues. Now and then they come, so I do the surrendering technique. But not that now and then. It's not rare that every day I have to do something in regard to healing. So don't have expectations that are unrealistic, right? There's work to do in cleaning the mess. Why this mess? Because we came to the wrong planet, right? Here, what we do is we traumatize children. That's what we do. This is a specialized planet in traumatizing children.
Well, some believe that we're really not here. This is just a dream or Maya or
Sorry?
an illusion. A lot of people believe that we're really not here, that this is just Maya, illusion, a dream, a hologram.
Yes. In the Indian scriptures, it has always been called Maya, right? Or illusion. Mm-hmm. In the sense that science is discovering that everything is empty, right? So let's say this, right? It gives you a sense of an object that has a form and a solid, but you begin to look into the atoms and you find nothing. It begins to dissolve, as you look inside and you look deeper and deeper, you find that it's dissolving into energy, but you don't find any real matter. So science has gone as far as saying that an object actually is energy. But the Indian scriptures have said that energy is thought, and then that thought is also consciousness. So that consciousness or emptiness, same thing, this alive emptiness or consciousness was first, before the universe was created, there was just that, empty aliveness, or emptiness that is alive, or consciousness. So that was the only thing that existed. And then from there came thought. And thought is not real. It's like a wrinkle, right? So in the field of consciousness, there are wrinkles that are called thoughts. And a wrinkle in this, is not real. It seems real, but isn't. It's made of cloth. So a thought actually is made of consciousness. And then, when thought collapses even more into, or becomes more rigid, becomes energy. But actually energy is also made of consciousness because it's made of these wrinkles. So energy is also wrinkles in the field of consciousness, just many wrinkles together. And then matter, same thing, but even worse. So this body, for example, is actually a wrinkle in the field of consciousness, right? It's nothing. There's nothing here. In that regard, there's just emptiness. There's just empty. There's just consciousness. So science has not gone that far, but mystics and yogis and so on, they have discovered this through realizations. How you can realize it? Well, it's not that difficult, in fact. You can realize it. And what I would suggest is you use a pointer again. You do the breathing, and then you use this pointer. It's different, right? everything is emptiness, right? Or everything is consciousness. So you begin to do this in the morning, and you keep playing with it. Everything is emptiness. Everything is emptiness. Until you begin to see it. But that seeing is intuitive. Yeah, it's just that you have gone through so many times into this truth, because it's the ultimate truth about the universe. The ultimate truth about the universe is that everything is consciousness. That's the ultimate truth. Everything is spirit, or everything is consciousness, or everything is emptiness. So you keep going there, you keep hammering into that truth until suddenly it becomes obvious to you. And it's obvious from an intuitive perspective, not your senses. Your senses are lying to you. The senses are lying to us that this is an object that is solid and is real, and I can touch it and I can see it. But if you keep hammering at this idea, at this pointer, everything is emptiness, you will look at this and you will see emptiness intuitively, right?
Yeah, I was reading an article by Paul Cutler, who's a Zen Buddhist, and he was talking about for a year, maybe longer, he did an exercise where he would take an object like this cup, and he would stare at it, and every thought that came up about the cup, he would deconstruct it, and he kept deconstructing all of his beliefs, all of his thoughts about the cup, until eventually the cup disappeared. And then he would do that with other objects as well.
Right. Yes. So that's another methodology. See, I would say it's probably simpler to just use a pointer like in Advaita. Everything is emptiness. Everything is emptiness. Advaita, I would say that the greatest contribution of Advaita is these marvelous pointers, right? So you use the pointer and everything is emptiness or everything is consciousness until suddenly, bang, it's there, and it doesn't take that long. It will not take you a year. It will take you much less. Especially, let's say you take one day to go to nature and walk in nature, and every now and then you do this breathing, and then you tell yourself everything is emptiness, and you look around and you keep doing it and you keep doing it and you keep doing it, and suddenly you will begin to see, yes, everything is emptiness, right? And without much practice. What happens with that particular pointer is that also eventually it becomes like a mantra, right? It becomes the mind begins to repeat this, and it's not a mechanic repetition. It's like you're going there, you're looking in, you're kind of craving to see it, to see the truth about the universe, which is the truth about you too. Everything is consciousness, right? You too, the body, everything. And let's remember that the Bible says the truth will make you free, right? So it's an important thing. It's freedom from suffering. Let's do it. Let's do it with everything is emptiness. Just close your eyes, do the breath, right? The breathing, as we did a moment ago, with the double breath, and after that, you open your eyes and you begin to hammer the idea everything is emptiness. Okay, let us do it. one important thing about these practices of using a pointer is to do it with a sense of enjoyment and having fun with it. Don't take it too seriously. Yeah, just use the half smile of the Buddha to stimulate the vagus nerve here, right? And do this with a sense of joy or bliss, so that you don't take it too seriously. Because otherwise, you will become too goal oriented, and it's not the purpose. The purpose is to be more like an explorer of consciousness. You're exploring the mysteries of consciousness, right? Instead of being goal-oriented and trying to attain liberation.
When I'm doing Qigong, occasionally I get to that state where I feel like I can perceive that I'm in the unmanifested field, right? But then I have to make sure the next day I don't do Qigong wanting to get back to that.
Right. Yes.
I had an experience once where everything is God.
Yes.
And for a week, everything was totally luminous.
Everything was totally what?
Luminous.
Luminous.
It was,
right.
I mean, it was
Beautiful.
so.
Yeah.
Everything is emptiness. Everything is God. Everything is the divine.
Right. Yes.
3 ways here.
Very good. Yeah, I remember not long ago I went to the temple that I used to go in SRF, in Self-Realization Fellowship, the Yogananda's teachings, right? And I arrived there, and there was this guy that I know him for 30 years, and he was sweeping the floor in front of the temple. And he was a very dedicated individual, very devoted to his path, right? And his path was more bhakti yoga. And then we had a conversation, and he told me that he was in Mexico with a monk that was, and he had this kind of relationship with this monk, like this monk was his teacher, right? So his teacher told him, read this book, and it's a book called The Second Coming of Christ, something like that. That was written by Yogananda. I haven't read it. So he read the book, and in the book, reading the book, suddenly he got the same idea that you said. Everything is God, right? Or his realization was more around the line that God is in everything. And what he told me was that that's why he was sweeping the floor, because it was the divine that was there, right? God was there. And he was, at that moment, he was very out there in this beautiful state.
That's interesting, because there appears to be 2 different states. One is where everything is God, and you really see God in everything.
Yes.
But you don't see yourself as God.
Uh-huh.
And then later on, you experience yourself as God.
As God. Okay, good. Yes. And see, God or emptiness, in a way, is the universal consciousness. Is that what we're talking about? And these are words. Let's not forget that words will never really convey what the divine is about, right? Not completely. So they are good pointers, but they're just pointers. So some people hate the word emptiness, and they say, "Oh, I hate that word." Well, use another word. Use consciousness, right? Use God, whatever word you like. The Buddhist, the reason the Buddhists use the word emptiness, there is a reason for that, and I would say they are right. It's because it's more difficult for the mind to objectivize the word emptiness into something, and God is not something. So it's not a thing. The divine is not a thing, right? So the idea of the Buddhists to use the word emptiness comes from that, from, okay, with the word emptiness, in your mind you won't be able to transform the divine into an image, into an object.
On the other hand, it's less attractive.
On the other hand, it's less attractive. So you win on one hand and you lose in the other, right? So the word God is, for many, is more attractive because it's warm, it warms your heart, but it has the other problems because now you begin to see that, okay, there is God and there is me, and this relationship sometimes can get very sour. Yes.
Source.
Yeah, emptiness. I instinctively feel scared thinking that.
Yeah,
And
you
then
see?
I think subconsciously that's because then you almost have to deal with the stuff that's the rocks in your shoe.
Right.
If you're not constantly bombarded by thought, then you have to deal with what needs to be healed,
Yes.
and that's scary.
Yes. Because that rock is not emptiness. It's something else, definitely, right? Right.
I like the word that.
That, right. It's a good point, really.
It doesn't have any of the
Yeah,
negative baggage.
The mind cannot grab it, right? That. The word this also works. So it's kind of personal what works for you, right? And Advaita has that flexibility that doesn't put you in a rut, you choose what word and pointers are the ones that really work for you. For this mind-body organism, emptiness has been very useful for the reasons that I was explaining, because then you cannot turn it into an image or an object. But for other people, it could be different, right? So you use universal consciousness, the divine. The divine is a beautiful one, right?
God also has an image of some being up there.
Right.
Because there's all that history.
Right.
White guy in the sky.
Right.
Watching over us.
Judge.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I would say too, from particularly the first awakening that happened, was you do feel emptied out somehow. It's hard to describe.
Yes.
It does have that sense about it.
Yes. Emptied from mental objects and from the little self. It's like the little self, at least for the time being, is out of reach.
It's like the house got clean.
Right. You get a blessing. You get a break. But that can be, that happens for some people, and other people, they just see. In my case, for example, there was this seeing that there was no one here. It was a seeing, but it was not accompanied by great feeling experience. But it was life-changing anyway, because you discard, you begin immediately to discard this focus. You have been life, for the most part, for people that are living in the world before awakening, it's about them. It's about my plans, my goals, my relationships, my friends, my body, my health, my money, my pleasures,
The lack of money.
my addictions or lack of money, my preoccupations, my worries, me, right? So when you see through the me and you realize that, hey, this thing doesn't exist, it's an illusion, you cannot continue your life in that way. It's impossible, right? You need to, you begin to look into how to remove the mind from that obsession.
How to remove the mind.
Huh?
How to remove the mind. My stuff.
The me.
My problems.
Right. Exactly. How to remove the my, me, and mine, right? These are the three enemies. I. So the technology that I have been discussing at the beginning of the conversation, is a way to do it. You, at least for a moment, you remove the me, and then you keep doing it, and then it becomes much more stable. And then if something interferes, it means that you need to do healing, and you heal that area of the mind that is creating contraction, and then you go back to emptiness. So it's very simple. It's, just these two things.
It's good to remove all the pronouns. So.
Sorry?
Good to remove all the pronouns.
Yes, it's great, right? If we can use the passive voice all the time and remove the I, you, and so on. They.
Yeah, they. That's a big one.
Because the obvious consequence of there is no one here is there's no one anywhere, right? Everyone is empty, and that is a very important concept in Buddhism. Everyone is empty, not just me. So, and then you go to the next step, that everything is empty, meaning that everything is empty of a separate self. Every object, every being is empty of a separate self inside. They don't have a separate self. There's just the universal consciousness looking through all of us. Just one consciousness, undifferentiated consciousness. So that's what the Buddhists call everything is empty. And it's a particular realization. You can do the same. You can start the day, you do the breathing, and then you tell yourself everything is empty, right? Empty of what? Empty of self. So you look around, yeah. Little later, you do it again, until finally you begin to see it intuitively that nothing has a self. Nothing, no one here has a self. But there is one self, one universal self. So these realizations are not so difficult, in fact. And you could say that using the Buddhist terminology, right? The first one is there's no self here, meaning there's no one here and never was. The second one, everybody's empty. The third one, everything is empty. And the fourth one, everything is emptiness, right? So everything is emptiness is the ultimate realization, is the ultimate freedom, the ultimate truth about the universe. Everything is consciousness, everything is emptiness. So you can go through all these four stages, right? Let me repeat them. First, There's no one here. There's no self here. Then there is no self in anyone. Then there is no self in anything. Everything's empty. And then everything is emptiness. The essence of everything, even every atom, is consciousness or emptiness. So we can use the technique that we discussed at the beginning to play with these realizations, to experience these realizations. And it's not that difficult. It's not that difficult at all. Because we all have intuition, and intuition is what reveals this. It's a revelation that comes. It's an intuitive revelation.
I think you can get there pretty quickly if you get rid of language.
Yeah, no mind, right?
Right there.
Right, no mind.
No labels, but words.
No words, no language.
It's just there.
Yes.
I'm not gonna wear.
Yes. Yeah, if you can do that, yes. So that's another pointer that comes from Zen, I think, no mind, right? No mind. And no mind, what is left? Consciousness, right? Awareness. So, but as we are talking now about more advanced realizations, I want to insist that it all can start with something very, very simple, and is to touch the egoless state, to begin to touch it, right? How you touch it? With the pointer, there is no one here, and never was. So you tell yourself the words and you feel them. There's no one here, and never was. If you need more energy, you do the breathing first, right? So you begin to touch that state, the egoless state. That's the beginning of the whole thing, right? That's the beginning of this whole thing. Because eventually, if you realize that there is no one here and never was, and you are living in that, the other realizations will come to you very soon. The main problem is the ego. The ego is the main problem, right? So once you get the first step very clearly, the other realizations will come easily to you. So it's so simple. You just begin to touch the egoless state. Begin to touch that emptiness. Begin to feel that emptiness of self. And that's the whole thing. That's all we need to do. Yes?
If you're in an egoless state for the majority of time, does that mean that you lose all aspirations?
Okay, so for those online, her question is if you lose all aspirations by being all the time in the egoless state. I would say that the aspirations that are of not great value will kind of fall away. And the aspirations, the two main aspirations that are of great value will stay and will be pursued with higher intensity. And these two aspirations are, first, your liberation, right? Liberation complete liberation from suffering, complete liberation from the from the ego state and the problems of the mind. And the second one is whatever the role, or people call it mission, I would prefer the word role. The mind-body organism that is being inhabited here by universal consciousness, whatever role it has, will continue being pursued. And then the goals of the ego will seriously decrease. And furthermore, you will want to let them go. You will want to renounce them. But that is a piece of information that I have thought that I would like to present in a different satsang, because it's quite a vast subject. Because each one of the chakras in the spine contains a drive, or more than a drive, and most of these drives, we better let them go. And let them go doesn't mean that we will not pursue them, but it means that we will renounce them internally. It's an inner renunciation, right? So I would like to leave that for a future satsang, because it's quite vast.
Next
Okay, in 2 weeks. Let me see if there is a question online. It looks like the broadcast is working, but my browser is not working well. So I don't know if there are questions. So I apologize to those online that may have sent questions, and I'm not. It looks like I'm not accessing that.
You're plugged into the internet cable, right, Gian?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, that's kind of strange because usually.
It's usually good, right?
Yeah, with the Ethernet cable.
It could be a problem in the computer, who knows?
Yeah.
All right. So, any other question?
We had 3 horses pulling the chariot, and then you mentioned 2 today. We lost the horse somewhere.
That's true. Yes, because I have mentioned in the past that the third one would be to reenact the awakening, right?
Exactly.
But in fact, the thought, there is no one here, is the reenactment, right? So you have, with this practice, you have both in one, right? Every time you use this pointer, there is no one here and never was, you're reenacting the awakening. Yeah, you're remembering the awakening. You're remembering what you saw in the awakening, that there's perceiving here, but you can never find a perceiver. Yeah, because the only possibility to find something is that you perceive it, and therefore will be part of the perceived. So when you try to find the perceiver, if you find anything, will be perceived, right? Will be part of the perceived, it will be in front. So the universe is organized in a way that there is perception or perceiving, and there is a lot of things that are perceived, and the perceiver cannot be found, can never be found. So when you begin to look for the perceiver, eventually you say, oh, it's not here. And you're supposed to be the perceiver, right? I am perceiving. So the language is absolutely lying to us. It has nothing to do with how the universe is organized. the language is organized subject, verb, object. The universe is not. The universe is verb and object. That's it. There's no subject. Or you could say there is just one subject and it's the whole universe, or is pure consciousness.
You could also say there's no object.
Yeah, eventually. There's just emptiness. Yes. But for that, see, awakening can happen by looking into the human experience. Just by looking into the human experience in an objective way, you can attain awakening and see through this lie. But to realize that everything is emptiness, you won't be able to do it by just looking into the human experience. You will have to do it intuitively. That's why it's easier to use the pointer, everything is emptiness, and you do a few breaths, then you repeat it, and then you keep doing it during the day until, boom, it becomes obvious to you. Everything is emptiness. Everything is consciousness.
So you use words so that you can eventually throw them away.
Yes, after you set the pointer, they disappear, right?
Or after you've used them enough where you don't need them anymore.
After it's done its work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You put scaffolding on a building, but once
Right.
the building's done, you
Brilliant.
Exactly.
Well, no, just, you know.
Any other question? Those online, this is your turn. Or comment, or sharing an experience, your own experience.
That technique really tends to like bring me back to reality, because when I spend so much time in my head with the worrying and the fussing and he said and she said and I should have been and then there's like this little of course, and it just really, you know, puts
Right.
things into perspective. It's really a great tool.
So for those online, Gina is commenting that it works for her to use the pointer. There is no one here and never was, because it requires the chattering of the mind, right?
The whole routine.
The whole thing that happens here in the mind. Yes, it does. Because most of our thoughts are self-centered, right? So when you remove the idea that there is a me or an I or a little self here, then the mind goes quiet because it stops thinking about you. Me, my problems, my goals, my ideas, my relationships, my desires, my addictions, my cravings. Me. That's what the mind does. It's always thinking about me. My problems, my suffering. That's another one.
What I'm struggling with lately, because it's about me, you see, is the letting go of emotions, because I've spend so much time in my head that I have trouble recognizing what is this emotion that I'm trying to release. And I go through the process of trying to figure it out, what it is, why it's there, who done it, you know, all this stuff, which is all mental stuff, and I'm not feeling the feeling.
Right.
Trouble embodying the actual, because the whole key to letting it go is to just let it wash through you and go, oh yeah, I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm
Right.
lonely, but I getting that mental stuff out of the way.
So Gina, for those online, is saying that she's having difficulties using the surrendering technique, right? Because the first step is to identify what is the feeling that you are having, right? The emotion that you are having, and you're having problem with the first step, identifying that feeling, right? You're not feeling good, you're feeling bad, but you don't know what the emotion is, right? That is the first step, is being able to label the emotion that is bothering us, right?
Yeah, but then I get carried off into the whole mental
You get carried
stuff of
on
it.
into the mental stuff, and then, right. So, yeah, it may take a little bit of a practice to do that. And one thing you can do is to get some coaching sessions with the surrendering technique, so that you begin to get into the habit of identifying the feeling and then going through the steps and so on. So sometimes, we can be so in a rut with our tendencies, the mind tendencies, that we can benefit from the use of a coach that help us to focus until we begin to get it. I can relate to what you're saying, in the sense that I was so mental that getting in contact with my feeling was pretty difficult. So when I started psychology, I remember a great chunk of our work at school, when we were doing group therapy, and it was about getting in contact with our feelings, right? Because most of us had problems with that, and it was the first step. It was such a simple thing, right? Really being able to get in contact with the feeling and give it a name. Looks very simple, but it may not be that simple for some people, especially if you're a mental individual. And many times in therapy, there is a progress when you help the client to get in contact with their feeling and to put it a name. And just that is a step forward towards healing. So let's call it a day. All right. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you also to those online for coming and staying with us tonight. And I look forward to have you next time. In 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Is everybody on Gion's email list?
If any one of you is still not in the email list, please give the email to Roy.
And there's a donation jar over here if anybody wants.
You're welcome, Amara.